Hello everyone, and welcome to the second video of the Angular Portfolio website course. In this video, we are going to go over what we need to set up first before we can start developing websites with Angular. However, before we do that, we should get a better understanding of what Angular is first. Angular is one of the leading frameworks for developing highly responsive and modern single-page web applications. It is maintained and supported by a team at Google. A new version is released about every 6 months. And if we take a look at the release history, we can see at the time of recording, we are on version 15. This will be the version that we will use for this course. However, depending on when you're watching, Angular 16 or later may be out. If that is the case, I recommend that you stick with version 15 when following these videos for a few reasons. The first reason is that since Angular has major releases a few times a year, it takes time for third-party packages to keep up with the latest version. And in this course, we will be utilizing a few third-party packages. The next reason is that the current version contains everything we need to build a fully functioning web app, and a newer version, although unlikely, could cause a step in a later video to not work properly. Before we start developing, we're going to need an editor. The one I will be using is VS Code. Although it's not required, I do recommend that you also use VS Code so that it's easier to follow along. If you don't have VS Code installed already, you can get it by navigating to code.visualstudio.com/download and then by grabbing the latest installer here. The next step will be to install extensions for VS Code to make developing an Angular app a little easier. We can do that by clicking the Extensions tab on the left. I do have many extensions installed, but we can disregard the disabled ones as we only need the 3 at the top here. The first one we will install is Angular Language Services. You can find it by searching for it up here. Once installed, Angular Language Services will add functionality like completion lists, diagnostic messages, and other features that will make developing in Angular easier. The next extension is Angular Snippets. Although it indicates it's made for version 13, it will still be useful for version 15. The last extension to install is Material Icon Theme. This extension is just a cosmetic one, but it will make our folder structure nicer to look at and make certain folders stand out more. Go ahead and install this one as well. Now that we have our extension set up, we will want to modify a few VS Code settings as well. Go ahead and navigate to File. Then click on Preferences, and then Settings. Within the settings, type bracket into the search bar. Next, make sure that the first checkbox is checked. Also, make sure that Guides bracket pairs is set to true. These settings will make it easier to identify bracket pairs in our code. The next setting we want to check is auto closing. Let's type auto close into the search bar. The first two settings that we see are auto closing brackets and auto closing quotes. We will want to set both of these to always. This will make typing a little easier as we won't need to manually type out closing brackets and quotes. That concludes our setup of VS Code. The next thing we will need is Node.js and NPM. Node.js is a prerequisite for Angular, and NPM is needed to install the Angular CLI as well as other packages. If we check Angular's documentation, we need Node version 18.10 or later. We can get that by heading over to Node.js's website and installing the latest version. Once that is installed, we can verify we have an updated version by opening a new terminal window, then by typing node-v. I have version 18.10, and as long as you have this version or greater, then you're all set. The last thing we need to do is to install the Angular CLI. We can do this by typing npm install-g at angular/CLI. Before we hit enter, it's important to note that this command installs the latest version of Angular. So let's say Angular version 16 is out by the time you're watching. Running this command would then install that version. We can specify version 15 by adding @15. However, this isn't necessary at the time of recording, so I won't be doing that. Let's press enter. Once that is finished running, we can verify that Angular has been installed correctly by typing ng version. We can see the Angular version here, which in our case is 15.2.4. We now have everything we need to start developing an Angular application. In the next video, we will be creating the Angular application and reviewing the project files. You can continue on to that video by clicking the video on the screen. Thanks for watching.